Have you ever seen two departments in an office fighting over who gets credit for a project? Or maybe two co-workers who refuse to speak to each other because someone, you know, uh, chose to occupy a meeting room which they had booked earlier? Now, scale that up to factory floors, company-wide disputes and strikes. And that, my friends, is what we call industrial conflict. So, what is industrial conflict exactly? How do you define it? How do you explain it to someone? In simple terms, it is a disagreement between employers and employees. A disagreement between employers and employees, or even employees themselves also, about job related matters. So it could be about wages, working hours, safety, or anything else that impacts our working life. And according to Elton Mayo's Human Relations School of Thought, industrial conflict reflects deeper issues like when workers feel unheard or management decisions seem unfair. All these times industrial conflicts happen. Now, don't think conflict is always bad. Like spicy food, a little can add flavor, push innovation, challenge routines, and bring change. But if it is too much, what happens? Heartburn. Conflict also, if left unmanaged, can damage your organization's productivity and relationships. Now, there are many types of conflicts that we deal with in organizations. The first is intrapersonal conflict. That is um, that is the one that happens inside your head. Okay, intrapersonal. Intra always means within. Okay. For example, like, should you take that startup job which has a lots of freedom but it pays low, or stick with the stable but boring 9 to 5 job? That kind of a conflict that happens within you. That is intrapersonal conflict. Then comes the interpersonal conflict. Inter always means between people. Intra is within ourselves, inter is between people. That is interpersonal conflict, which is more common. Colleagues not agreeing on how to run a project, or maybe even clashing over who gets the corner desk. All these things are interpersonal conflict. At a bigger scale, we have intergroup conflict also. So, first level is intrapersonal conflict, second level is interpersonal conflict. Take it one step further, you get intergroup conflict. Intra-group is also there within group, but that is interpersonal again. Now, intrapersonal or intergroup conflict is like between unions and management, or two departments fighting over budget allocations and all. These conflicts need to be handled wisely, or else what is going to happen? These are going to erupt into full-blown disputes. Speaking of disputes, what is an industrial dispute? I mean, legally, of course. According to the Industrial Disputes Act of 1947, ID Act of 1947, an industrial dispute is any conflict that is related to employment, non-employment, or conditions of work, either between employer and employees or among employees themselves. This is how Industrial Dispute Act of 1947 describes industrial dispute. So legally, this is what an industrial dispute is. So basically, if it affects your working life and people are fighting over it, then it is an industrial dispute. So what are the causes of industrial dispute then? The causes, broadly, there are internal and external causes. Internally, it is like wage demands or poor working conditions, or fears about job security. These are usually the internal culprits of industrial disputes. Externally, it could be what you can say, government um, government policies, or political tensions, economic instability. These can government policies, economic instability, or political tensions. That is nothing but the union rivalry. These are all causes of external causes of Industrial disputes. Imagine working in a factory where salaries have not been revised in years, or the management suddenly announces that there are going to be layoffs. That is like adding kerosene to a fire, right? ഇത് തീയിൽ എണ്ണ ഒഴിച്ച പോലെയാവും അത്. These are all causes of industrial dispute. Now, how do these conflicts show up in real life? Well, there are various forms of industrial actions that you can see, like employees may stop coming to work. That is absenteeism. Absenteeism, employees stopping to come to work, that is a form of industrial conflict. Then slowing down their pace of work intentionally. That is go slow. Reducing their productivity intentionally. That is also a form of conflict that you can see in around us. Strikes, lockouts. Sometimes they may picket outside the company gates or organize a bandh. So what else? Yeah, on the management side, you may see the layoffs, retrenchments, or even a lockout where the employer shuts down operations to pressure the workers. So these are all actions that can really paralyze an organization if you don't manage early. And these are all the various forms, gharaos, like all these are various forms of industrial conflicts that we can all see. Similarly, work to rule. Like I'll only do whatever is absolutely necessary from my side. No innovations, no extra efforts. That is also a form of industrial conflict only. So, is this conflict always bad? Right? Always when we think about conflict or you hear the word conflict, it first thing what comes is a negative image, right? Strikes, things not getting done properly, problems. That is what conflicts always paint a picture like that in our head. So is it always bad? No. No, conflicts are not always bad. There are positive sides also for conflicts. So what are the positive sides? A little bit of conflict can encourage innovation. So it is that inverted U shape. You remember studying about inverted U shape of conflict? No conflict means it is like frying a fish without turning on the gas. Too much conflict means it is like frying the fish on full flame for 5 minutes. You're going to get a charcoal piece, burnt fish. But a little bit of conflict, that middle ground, that is good conflict. That is positive conflict. It will encourage innovation. It will force people to work harder, improve decision making by bringing in different perspectives. Right? A healthy debate can actually help the team bond and find better solutions. But if the conflict becomes toxic, then it is going to, if it is too toxic, then it is going to lead to job dissatisfaction, health issues, communication breakdowns, or even legal trouble. So it is like adding too much masala to a curry. If you add too much masala, it is going to ruin everything. If you don't add masala, the curry is going to taste bland. The just right amount of masala. That is the right amount of conflict also. That is positive conflict. So say there is conflict now, bad conflict. How do you resolve it? How do you manage these conflicts? Though conflict resolution approaches, how do you manage? Through conflict resolution approaches. The main ones, what are they? Can you think of any? Negotiations. We had an entire unit itself on negotiation, right? How it can help. Then what else? What else? We can go for some sort of compromise where each party can give up a little bit or avoid, like pretend that nothing is wrong, turn a blind eye towards it. But that is definitely not ideal, but it happens a lot. Right? If you don't acknowledge it, then it doesn't exist kind of an attitude. I don't know much about it actually resolving the conflict, but at least it is going to put things away for quite some time, right? Accommodation is another resolution method. This is where one party adjusts to maintain the peace. And collaboration, this is the gold standard. This is the win win standard. Here, both parties work together to find a win win solution. And the best solution always depends on the particular situation. There is no one size fits all, even in conflict resolution, whether you have to go for negotiation, mediation, arbitration, adjudication, whatever it is, compromise, whatever it is, it depends on the particular situation. Sometimes you will negotiate, sometimes you will just need to listen more, whatever it is, whatever is best for you. Now, let us look at how the industrial disputes are resolved in India. Okay. Resolving industrial disputes in India, there are two methods. We have statutory methods and non-statutory methods. Okay. Statutorily, we have a three-tier system under the Industrial Disputes Act. Under the Industrial Disputes Act, statutorily, we have a three-tier system, that is labor courts for small disputes, industrial tribunals for mid-sized ones, and national tribunals for the big and the national level issues. These are the legal bodies which hear cases and give binding judgments. In terms of non-statutory methods, we have reconciliation, where a neutral person helps both sides communicate and come to an agreement. We have mediation, where someone suggests a middle path, and arbitration, where a third party gives a decision that both sides have to follow. Then there is the collective bargaining, where trade unions and management sit together like adults and settle their differences. Tripartite consultations are also there. This involves the government as well in the whole settlement process, and with their help, we will try to resolve the issues if things get really messy. Okay. So the Industrial Relations Code, we had talked about it in earlier units, so I'm not again talking about it, but in terms of conflict resolution, what are the things that help from the Industrial Relations Code? This code has tried to modernize some of the processes of this whole conflict resolution. Like, for example, the court of inquiry has been scrapped. Threshold for notifying retrenchments have been revised, making it easier for companies with under 300 employees to make certain changes without prior approval. The code also introduces more focus on standing orders, kind of like official do's and don'ts for employment, which has to ideally reduce the misunderstandings and disputes. Lastly, let us talk about the role of international labor organizations, ILOs, in conflict resolution. So, we all said the ILO is like the United Nations for labor rights. We had a whole unit on ILO. There we had spoken in detail about it. This ILO doesn't enforce rules directly, but rather it promotes dialogue, it sets international standards, and help countries resolve disputes peacefully. They believe in tripartism, meaning government, employers, and workers. They all have a seat at the table. That is like making sure all three sides of the teams are, or all three sides of the what you can say, three sides of the triangle are properly heard, right? Now, to wrap up, industrial conflict is a natural part of working life. You cannot avoid it, but how we handle it makes all the difference. Whether it is a heated union protest or a quiet disagreement over the processes, conflicts must be resolved with empathy, with understanding, as also structure. As future HR professionals, it is going to be your job to balance both sides, right? Like a good biryani, it should be spicy, yet savory, yet not too spicy, kind of. It should be balanced, it should satisfy everyone. All right, so with that we finish the important concepts of unit 15, and not just that, we are also winding up the rapid roundup session of MMPH 4, because over the course of the last 15 videos, we have covered almost all the important concepts that were there across all the 15 units of MMPH 4 as per the IGNOU MBA syllabus. Thank you so much for tuning into Anu's Classroom. I hope you have subscribed to the channel and enabled notifications. And I hope that this entire rapid round of session has been useful to you. You didn't feel like I wasted your time. Let me know in the comments. And until we catch up in another session, thank you so much. Happy learning.